Gobble, gobble, gobble.
Ha-ha! You thought it was a giant turkey, but in fact it was I, Tekking! Pose! Okay, hey everybody, how are you doing? Welcome back to what I'm sure will be another epic installment to Thanksgiving. Sorry, little tickle in my throat there. Another epic installment of Shanksgiving, the holiday where we all gather around the table, have the Shanksgiving turkey, and we put a giant wooden plaque of the leader of the red-haired pirates at the head of the table to bask in his glory. It's fun for the whole family, so get your brothers, your sisters, your parents, your grandparents, that estranged person that you rarely talk to, get them all together in the room so you can worship Shanks. Just remember that even though you have a turkey for Thanksgiving and you have a turkey for Shanksgiving, remember the turkey that you eat at Shanksgiving was prepared by Shanks. Therefore, it's 95% rum. So, you know, just keep that in mind. You're still obligated to eat it. I'm just saying, keep that in mind. Alright, so, I actually had a plan for Shanksgiving, like, months ago, because you gotta plan for this, of course. And then the announcement last week happened for One Piece Film Red, which, by the way, there is not nearly enough crimson in this room right now. We have to do it. Go do it! Bloody epic mode! Haha, there we go. Okay, actually, that might be a little bit too red. I'm not sure anybody will be able to see what's going on. All right, dial it back a bit, Barry. Keep going, keep going, keep going. All right, I think we're good. That's just the appropriate amount of scarlet. Urza would be proud. All right. So, yeah, had a plan a couple of months ago for a different video, and then last week we found out about Film Red, though. Funny story, I saw that Film Red was announced, and I was like immediately like, last week, man, I gotta make a video on that. Gotta strike while the iron's hot, right? Yeah, that's a term. So I start doing that, and then I get some comments that were like, hey, Tekking, you know the movie wasn't like officially announced yet. It was just kind of leaked early, so we don't know like everything about it. And I'm like, well, don't that all beat all. So here we are now, again, doing the same thing. Pretty much everything I'm going to discuss here has already been talked about at this point at length with other YouTubers. There's a trailer out right now, you can see it, but, you know, it's Shanksgiving, so I gotta talk about it. It's One Piece Film Red, so why not, right? And it kind of does tie into the original topic, where, I'll just tell you, the original topic was, is Shanks a member of the Will of D? I probably should move the rum. Is Shanks a member of the Will of D? And if you look at the logo for One Piece Film Red, yes, you see the scar that I mentioned last time, you know, Shanks' scar, but also it's located on the D of the word red. And so that got a lot of people thinking, like, is it indicating that? And I did a whole video talking about, like, what I would hope for in this movie, like, best case scenario, maybe what we'll probably get, and, like, worst case scenario. But let's delve now into the actual, like, facts, as in stuff in the trailer, stuff that was mentioned by Oda, as well as the director and the screenwriter. So let's see what they actually have to say about the movie now that it's been officially announced. Okay, so let's start first and foremost with this promotional image we have right here, drawn by Oda himself. This is a sketch of a new character that will be appearing in One Piece Film Red. This is not, like, the official poster of the movie, or at least I think it is right now, but as we get closer to the release date, August 6, 2022, remember to mark your calendars, we'll get a different poster with, like, the final designs of what all these characters will look like. This is just a sketch, obviously, but she looks pretty cool. A almighty voice with fiery red locks, okay? So she has headphones on, she's singing into a mic very passionately, and she has wings, so that makes a lot of people think that, wow, she's gonna be a Skypiean, which means we're going back to the sky, which is awesome. I would love to go back to Skypiea, or any sky island for that matter, because the Skypieans really haven't had a part in this story, you know, ever since the Skypiea arc. I mean, you know, Nami went to Weatheria, which was a sky island, but the wizards that lived on Weatheria did not have wings. They were not, like, normal, they were not Skypieans. They were, like, people that lived on the blue sea that were just, like, weather scientists that developed an island that floated on the clouds, okay? And so, such an interesting culture, like the Skypieans and the Shandorians, and, well, I guess the Bierkins, but they all got wiped out. Maybe this will be another race of Skypieans that we've yet to see, because it was only one little section of the sky the Straw Hats went to, remember that. The area where the Shandorians lived and the Skypieans lived, but, you know, it's a big world and a big, big sky. Now, there's not sky islands everywhere, you know, they have to have, like, a certain amount of clouds that are that pyrobrine stuff that is basically like when sea prism evaporates, or when water evaporates that is around sea prism stone, it creates these special island clouds that allow, you know, people to actually live on them, okay? And they're scattered all over the Grand Line, I would assume. Maybe not so much in the Four Blues, but in the Grand Line, most definitely. So we knew that there were the Bierikans, the Skypieans, and the Shandorians. There might very well be other races of Skypieans that were, like, are called something different that are all over the world, okay? Then again, I also thought about something that, like, what if they're not even real wings? Because she's clearly, like, a performer. She's, like, some kind of singer. So she might be the equivalent of, like, a One Piece J-pop artist or something. And she might just be wearing a really elaborate outfit that might just have, like, angel wings on it, okay? But I really hope that's not the case. I hope it's not just an aesthetic. I really hope she is a Skypiean, and, you know, at some point in the movie, we have to go back into the sky, because that was always really cool, and it was kind of just this one isolated part of One Piece that we never really address after that, okay? So, the reason why this character exists, though, Oda actually gives his comment, which is hilarious. Let me pull that up for you right here. And this is the original comment right here, but then here's the translated version of it. We're making a movie, One Piece, film red. I'm tired of drawing legendary old men in movies, LOL. I love the fact that Oda uses LOL, that's great. But no, seriously, like, Oda's sitting there and he's like, alright, I'm just drawing One Piece, you know, we're in Wano, Luffy's fighting a giant duck, okay, all that's cool stuff. And then somebody comes up behind him, he's like, Oda-sensei, we're gonna make another movie. He's like, oh, that's awesome. He's like, great, can you design a new character for the movie? And Oda just, like, puts down his pen and he's just like, does it have to be another big, muscular, legendary guy? And the guy's like, well, I mean, well, it doesn't have to. It's just like, all right, cool, I'm drawing a woman this time. Because seriously, that has been the standard for the first, it was like 14 movies out of the first 14 movies. Like, let's go through them really quick here. Movie number 1, the villain was a big, muscular guy with a gold fetish. Movie number 2, big, sweaty guy that dressed like a bear. Movie number 3, Gecko Moria's long-lost brother that likes to play the violin. He was really kind of weird. Movie number 4, big, strong, tough guy that turns into goo. Movie number 5, small, strong, tough guy that was possessed by an evil sword. Movie number 6, creepy-ass flower. Movie number 7, hipster wearing overalls and glasses that pilots giant clockwork, transformers. Okay, movie number 8, Crocodile. Movie number 9, Wapol and his brother Musaru. Movie number 10, Shiki. Movie number 11, actually, movie number 11, that was the Straw Hat Chase. That was the 3D one. I think it was a dog. It was just a dog. Movie number 12, Zephyr, big, muscular, legendary marine. Movie number 13, Gil Tesoro. Well, he wasn't that old, and he wasn't that legendary, but damn was he muscular. Movie number 14, Douglas Bullet, giant, muscular, legendary guy. So I can sort of see Oda's thought process here, like, let me draw an attractive woman for this, please. But that also got me thinking, like, wait a second. When Oda said, I'm tired of drawing legendary old men, all of those legendary old men that he drew were usually the villain, or at least the antagonist of the movie, right? Okay, so that got me thinking, what if this woman here is actually going to be the main villain of One Piece film Red? Maybe not. Maybe she might be an ally to the Straw Hats and an ally to Shanks, perhaps. But just keep that in mind. The way he phrased it, I think it's just feasible, right? Let's see here. This is the character we want to create now. I love that. Like, no, screw that. I'm drawing a woman this time. This is what we're doing now. And it's like, okay, all right, fair enough. I'm not complaining. That's how it all started, really. And did you know the great director, Goro Taniguchi? I mentioned him last time. He was the Code Geass guy. Anything Code Geass related to, he was the director for that stuff, like the anime, as well as the movies and OVAs and stuff, all Goro Taniguchi. You know, Goro Taniguchi, who now seems like he's making something completely different from One Piece, was actually the first person in the world to make Luffy into an anime. That was the original OVA way back in the late 90s, before the Toei anime even started. It was Defeat the Pirate Gonzak, and then that was Goro Taniguchi that directed that OVA. We got to see Luffy, Zoro, and Nami in animated form for the first time ever. Now we have a lot of surprises in store for you, and this is the next line. I love that Oda said this. The new movie read, "Please let your fantasizing fuel your imagination while you look forward to it." All right, Oda. Okay, you're the one that said it, not me, man. All right, Oda just came out. This is the creator of the damn manga that came out and said, "Fantasize away. Have at it." All right? Now, you could take that to mean two things. You could take that to just mean, like, he's trying to drum up hype for the movie. So he's like, listen, it's going to be a while until you see, like, an official trailer for this. It's not going to be out until August of next year. So just fantasize away, have your imagination run wild just to drum up hype for the movie. But another way I'm looking at this is, you know what? This movie is going to touch upon some really cool stuff. Shanks is going to be in it. It's going to be very, very relevant. So go crazy with the imagination, because it might be something very similar, like people, that's almost like, to me, and I might be looking too much into it, but yeah, you know Shanks is going to be in this movie, and there's a lot of mysteries and a lot of lore and stuff revolving around Shanks. Go ahead and have your imagination go wild. Are we going to find out if Shanks is a member of the Willa D? Are we going to find out about Shanks' past? Are we going to find out how Shanks got his scar? Are we going to find out about Shanks meeting Mihawk or seeing the duel? Go crazy with it, because it might be in the movie. I don't know. Once again, might be looking too much into it and stuff that's not really there, but, you know, to throw that out there. Next quote we have is from the director, Goro Taniguchi. Who wouldn't want to go along with a former shipmate saying, "Let's play again over a plate of meat"? Goro Taniguchi, you get this series. You get this series, man. That is the reason why I decided to be involved in this project after such a long time. If possible, I'd like to look back at what One Piece was for me and try to find some of those answers in my own way. All right, now remember, he's the director. He's not the writer or anything like that. But the way he's phrasing it is like going back to maybe the early days of One Piece. And hey, that makes sense, because guess who was in the early days of One Piece? Chapter 1, my dudes! My dudes. I'm never going to call you my dudes again. Sorry about that. I apologize. But anyway, Chapter 1! Okay, we got Shanks, alright? So maybe he's going to go back to the original, you know, chapter and read it, or watch the original episode of the anime or whatever, and be like, you know, what was One Piece to me back then? Back in the 90s. Let's try to capture that again. It may be a little different from the One Piece of the past, but for precisely that reason, I want to express a One Piece that has never been seen before. Of course, I don't intend to ignore the previous TV series and movies. The anime of One Piece has such a great history, and with that as the foundation, I would like to discover new possibilities with the help of Mr. Kuroiwa, the scriptwriter, and the other staff. Okay, so overall, the way he's talking about this, to me at least, without any sort of like joking involved, it really does seem that he's just like, yeah, we're gonna do this with a new direction, but honoring the original concept, which, I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. I'm just saying, like, that's like the stuff that a lot of directors say when they're attached to a movie or like an anime product. It's like, yeah, I'll follow the original source, but it's going to be in a new direction. And like I said, not a bad thing. I'm just saying, like, just from that information alone, I really don't have a lot of stuff to go off of, right? Like, are we going to do something like Movie 6, which was, yes, keeping in mind stuff from the original manga, but also deviating vastly when it came to tone, because the tone of the 6th movie is dark as hell, man. So, are we going to get something like that, or are we going to get something a little bit more goofy? I don't know, and it's really can't get anything from that, because that just seems like the standard, like, I'm the director for this new movie. Well, I'll do my own style, but I'll honor the source. Like, alright, I have faith in you, Goro Taniguchi-san. I think you'll be fine, but yeah, we'll see. Maybe when we get closer to the release date, we'll get a little bit more on, like, what the plot's going to be and the direction that you are taking it. Let's see. And then finally, we have here a comment by the writer of the screenplay, Tsutomu Kuroiwa. And this is actually the same dude that did the screenplay for Film Gold. Alright, and I went back to look at all the other movies to see if maybe he was involved in any of the other ones as a screenplay writer, and no, it's just Film Gold. But still, I liked Film Gold. Film Gold was really fun, so yeah. So we have the general producer, Eiichiro Oda, directed by Goro Taniguchi. All that is left is to get the script right, and the project will definitely be interesting. It turns out, when Mr. Oda read the finished script, he said, "It's fantastic." So I guess I was able to fulfill my role. Over the course of 2 years, we discussed with Mr. Oda and Mr. Taniguchi, and the process of getting closer to the goal little by little was like an adventure on a ship. Those days passing like a dream. This is a story this is a story we wove together, and I'm sure it will be a great movie that will touch many people's hearts. Please look forward to it. All right, so That one's more, like, genuine, I think. And, I like the idea that they've been working on this for so long. They've been working on this for 2 years. So basically, they've been working on this since right around the time Stampede came out. That is honestly probably how you have to do movies, right? It's just like, all right, Stampede comes out in theaters, and he's like, all right, let's get to work on the next one. It's One Piece. It's a big franchise, okay? So, you know, Taniguchi and the screenwriter or the screenplay writer, Tsutomu Kuroiwa, met with Oda and talked to him many times. And so I'm sure that process maybe involves them sitting down and being like, okay, let's do a movie about Shanks. And Oda's like, all right, I'm fine with that, but maybe Oda will say some stuff like, all right, but you can't tackle this, or I want to do this, or maybe, you know, the screenwriter is just like, okay, well, what if we do this involving Shanks's past? And what if Oda's like, well, I really don't want to do that, how about we do this instead? I'm assuming those meetings involve kind of stuff like that, because Oda's not the one writing the movie at the end of the day. I think the only one that he actually wrote on was Strong World, and, you know, that was relevant because it turns out Shiki is a canon character, which makes sense. Okay? But then again, also, if the movie is involving Shanks, Shanks is a canon character, and he's not like the Straw Hats where, you know, they've been established at this point because they're the main cast of the damn show and of the manga, right? Shanks rarely appears in this story. Rarely he does. He shows up on a rock every now and then reading a newspaper, and that's pretty much the contribution that Shanks really gives to this, right? So let's go back to the original idea I had for this video. Does Shanks have the will of D? And, you know, I'm actually really happy that the news of Film Red came out, because while I had the concept for that video, I really didn't know how to stretch it out to make it a full-length thing, because I think 100% Shanks has the will of D. And my evidence for that is really nothing more than just, well, Roger had it, and then he passed the hat to Shanks, and then Shanks passed the hat to Luffy, who also has the will of D. So I always thought it would be a little strange if Roger has the will of D, Shanks doesn't, but he gets the hat, and then Luffy has it. Sort of seeing like Shanks as just a placeholder and nothing else, kind of. And that's, you don't want to delegate Shanks to that position, right? Shanks is not the main character of the story, but he's still very important to Luffy and the overall plot. It's just we haven't gotten to his part yet, okay? It's the final saga that's going to be his part. Same thing like Kaido and Big Mom are very relevant to the One Piece story, but we didn't even get to see them until after the time skip. You know, like we've been into the story for well over 10 years by the time they finally showed up, right? So I think it's very similar to Shanks. So I think for that reason, Roger had the will of D. He saw the will of D in Shanks as well, and that's why we don't know Shanks' full name. It's just Shanks, you know, and so that's why Roger gave him the hat, and then Shanks also saw it in Luffy. He also bore the will of D. So I think all three of them have the will of D. I think that makes perfect sense, right? Right? Okay, right. Also, the whole relevance of the Straw Hat, since we found out that the Straw Hat was most likely worn by Joy Boy, who is also most likely the progenitor of the D clan. I feel like, yeah, that makes more sense than just having Shanks like, it's like, all right, you know, Roger's like, here you go, Shanks, have my hat. Now, don't get used to it or anything. You have to pass that hat on to someone who truly deserves it. And Shanks is like, okay, Captain, I understand that's my one role to play. All right, try your best, but, you know, you're not the prophecy child. And he's like, okay, I will. You know, so I think for that reason, Shanks does have the will of D. And that would have been the video. I mean, that would have been it. So I'm glad we have other stuff to discuss here. But you know what? I think it's such... To me, it feels like such an obvious thing. It wouldn't even be really a twist. Like, if the movie comes out and it's revealed in the movie that Shanks does have the will of D, I wouldn't be in the theater shocked or surprised or anything like that. I wouldn't be like, what? You gotta... Really, Oda? That's insane! You know, it's like, no, I'd be sitting in the theater and I'd be like, yep, makes perfect sense. You know, and it's like we haven't spent that much time with him either, so it's not like we would have gotten that many hints to it, right? You know, but I think we've already gotten enough just from the idea that he was on Roger's crew and he was like the next generation after Roger, and he built a great crew, and he's now one of the Yonko. He got a meeting with the Gorosei, which is not a common thing that you do, even if you're a Yonko. I mean, it might be the idea that he's a Yonko, that he was able to get a meeting, but it also might be the fact that he does have the will of D, and the Gorosei know that. And then it's like, hey, Red Hair Shanks wants an audience with you. too. And he's not just a Yonko, he also bears the will of D. And the Gorosei know all about, you know, Eam, and also about, oh, by the way, guys, just a minor tangent here. I had a One Piece dream last night. And you think that's weird because, you know, I would always have those kind of dreams. Like, I'd always be palling around with Luffy. I very rarely have One Piece dreams, okay? But I had a dream last night where I was walking down the street and I ran into Eam. Like, seriously, Eam. And I'm just like, hey, can I see your driver's license? Like, is that your real name? And Eam shows me his driver's license, and then it was my driver's license, and I'm just like, what? And then I woke up, and it's like, ah! Just like, so yeah, that was a tangent. But at any rate, you know, the Goro would say no, and so he's like, oh, you're a member of the Will of D, and he wants to speak with us. Yeah, we should probably hear what he has to say. I mean, that makes more sense than him just being a Yonko and getting an audience, because I don't think the Gorosei would give an audience to Blackbeard. Or, well, Blackbeard has the Will of D too, although Blackbeard is a lot more dangerous. I don't know. I don't think they would. But, you know, Kaido or Big Mom, definitely not. It might also just go by Shanks being a lot more rational than the other Yonko, you know? Like, Shanks is not the kind of person that, like, tries to burn down the world or start their own country like Totland or Wano or Pirate Paradise or, you know, trying to amass Devil Fruit powers. He's a pirate, but he's a more rational, reasonable kind of pirate. And when he says he wants a meeting with you, you should probably listen to him, right? So, yeah. Well, anyway, that's the video, and that's everything we know so far about Film Red. It's going to involve this woman who I'm assuming is going to be maybe the villain from going off of the way Oda spoke about it, but I could be wrong on that. She could be an ally of Shanks. Maybe Shanks was hanging out in the Sky Islands this entire time. Maybe that's why we never see the dude. He's always vacationing in the Sky Islands, right? And so he meets this lady and they become allies or whatever. And then how are you going to get, I mean, the Straw Hats are going to be involved in this. So how are you going to, like, implement this? Like, you know, like I said in the original video, I don't want this to be a thing where it's like Shanks is in trouble, the Straw Hats have to save him, because that would be bullshit. You know, that would be silly. Maybe it could be a thing like if we are going with her being the villain, maybe she has a devil fruit that's relating to music or singing, similar to the Oto Oto no Mi that Apu has. However, Apu's devil fruit allows him to control sound waves to damage people, like turning sound into actual physical damage. Maybe her devil fruit is a singing devil fruit ability that allows her to maybe manipulate and control others. Oh god, no. Then that would mean, like, I hope the plot isn't like, she sings and uses her almighty voice and fiery red locks to captivate red hair Shanks and go to her side. Oh, that would suck. Please tell me you're not going to go that way with it. Please tell me you don't do that. I would, you know what, honestly, I would much rather prefer, and a lot of people are going to be mad at this as well, but if I had a choice between this or the other, if that's the way we're gonna go, let's say she's the villain, she has a devil fruit that allows them, like, brainwash people through sound or singing, okay? Which I don't think is a devil fruit that exists yet. I don't think it is, at least not in the canon of the story. Anyway, let's say they have a devil fruit like that, okay? I would much rather one of the Straw Hats get manipulated that way. And then Luffy has to team up with Shanks to get his crew back. Now, I could see you still being pissed about that. So, oh wait, so you'd be okay if, like, Sanji and Zoro get, like, brainwashed and they work for this lady, and then, you know, it's Luffy and Shanks the entire movie. He's like, you know what? It's just a movie. It's just an hour and a half, probably. It's not canon. You know, maybe not even necessarily brainwashed like zombies. You know, like Zoro gets brainwashed and he's like, yes, mistress, I will do whatever you say. You know, nothing like that, but maybe just, like, you know, obscures their way of thinking or twists it around in some way. So Zoro can still be Zoro, but he views Luffy as his enemy or something like that. Like, Zoro becomes like, I cannot be the greatest swordsman if you are king of the pirates. I can't be that if I'm working for you. I will fight you. And it, like, twists it around. I mean, look, that's just personal opinion. I would prefer that over Shanks being brainwashed and, like, the Straw Hats have to fight him. I would rather the Straw Hats be brainwashed, maybe not all of them, but to an extent, and then Luffy and Shanks have to team up to bring his crew back. I would be okay with that, but maybe you wouldn't be, but that's fine. Anyway, let me know what you think about the plot of the movie and what this woman's place is going to be in it. Thanks for watching, everybody. I hope you have a very happy Shanksgiving. This will be Tekking101, Barry Shanks, and new introducing Dr. Pepper Candle, signing out. Smells all 23 flavory.